Welcome to the 5-Minute Prime Podcast. Quick, actionable tips to master personal finance and real estate investing. In just 5 minutes a day, we'll help you build wealth and achieve financial freedom. It's Friday night. You just closed your biggest flip of the year. $100,000 in pure profit. You're out celebrating with your family, feeling invincible. But then a guy you've never met walks up to your table. He's wearing a cheap suit and a smug grin. He reaches into your pocket, pulls out a stack of cash, $15,300 to be exact, and stuffs it into his own wallet. He didn't swing a hammer, he didn't find the deal, he didn't risk a dime of his own capital, but he just took 15% of your hard work and walked out the door without even saying thank you. If you are an active real estate investor, a flipper, a wholesaler, an agent, and you are operating as a standard LLC, you invited him in. That silent partner is the self-employment tax, and he is robbing you blind. Hey, Prime investors, Martin Maxwell here. Welcome back to the 5-Minute Prime Podcast. Now, before we start moving money around today, we need to have a quick grown-up conversation. We are diving deep into tax strategy, and while I love this stuff, I am not a CPA and I am not a tax attorney. I am an investor sharing the playbooks that work for the pros. But tax laws are complex, they change often, and they depend heavily on your specific situation. So take these strategies, learn them, but always vet them with your own professional financial team before you file any forms. Deal? All right, let's get back to firing that silent partner. We are entering the manage phase of the Prime framework. Usually when people think of managing, they think of fixing toilets. But the most important thing you manage isn't your property, it's your entity. Specifically, we are talking about the manage phase of the Prime framework. Usually when people think of managing, they think of fixing toilets. But the most important thing you manage isn't your property, it's your entity. We just spent weeks talking about making money with 1031 exchanges and cost segregation. That's the offense. Today we play defense. The One Big Beautiful Bill Act did something critical. It saved the 20% qualified business income deduction that was set to expire. That's the good news, but it's like a coupon sitting on a high shelf. If you don't have the ladder, you can't reach it. And if you stay a standard LLC, you are leaving thousands on the table. Today, we are dissecting the S-Corporation election. We're going to cover the math, the exact tipping point for when you need to switch, and how to avoid the reasonable salary trap that gets amateurs audited. To understand why the S-Corporation is the solution, you have to truly understand the problem. Most investors start with an LLC. It's cheap, it's easy, and it offers liability protection. But from a tax perspective, a single-member LLC is what the IRS calls a disregarded entity. Here is the irony. You probably quit your W-2 job to escape the rat race, right? To be your own boss? Well, congratulations. By staying a standard LLC, you are actually taxing yourself harder than your old boss ever did. When you earn money as a W-2 employee, your employer pays half of your Social Security and Medicare taxes. You never see it. It just happens. But when you are the boss running a standard LLC, you are both the employer and the employee. That means you have the privilege of paying both halves. This is the self-employment tax. It is a flat 15.3% tax on every single dollar of net profit up to the Social Security wage base, which is projected to hover around $176,100 for 2026. This is on top of your federal income tax bracket and your state taxes. Let's look at a tale of two investors. Investor A is a wholesaler. He had a great year and netted $100,000 in profit. He operates as a standard LLC. He pays his federal income tax, sure, but then the IRS hits him with the self-employment tax on that full $100,000. Now let's look at investor B. She also netted $100,000, but she made one election differently. She is an S-Corp. Let's see how her math changes. Enter the S-Corp. Now, to be clear, an S-Corp is not a different legal entity you set up with the state. You don't have to dissolve your LLC. An S-Corp is a tax election. It's a Form 2553, that you file with the IRS that essentially says, hey, I'm an LLC, but I want you to tax me like a corporation. Here is the magic trick. An S-Corp allows you to split your income into two distinct buckets. Bucket number one is salary, W-2. You become an employee of your own company. You pay yourself a salary. You pay that 15.3% self-employment tax on this bucket only. Bucket number two is distributions, K1. This is the profit left over after you pay your salary and expenses. You take this money out as a shareholder distribution. This bucket is exempt from the 15.3% self-employment tax. Let's go back to investor B and her $100,000 profit. She decides to pay herself a reasonable salary of $50,000. That leaves $50,000 remaining as a distribution. Tax on salary. She pays the 15.3% tax on the $50,000 salary. That cost is roughly $7,650. Tax on distributions. She pays $0 in self-employment tax on the remaining $50,000. The result, by splitting her income, she just saved $7,650 in taxes compared to investor A. Now pause, $7,650. That's not just a number on a spreadsheet. That is 3,000 direct mailers to find your next deal. That is your entire marketing budget for the first quarter. That is a family vacation to Hawaii paid for in cash. That is capital that stays in your ecosystem to grow your business instead of vanishing into the black hole of the Treasury. And here is where the One Big Beautiful Bill Act comes in. The government extended the 20% QBI deduction, but think of it as a use it or lose it coupon. The S-Corp structure is the best way to maximize that coupon while minimizing the drag of the self-employment tax. It is the perfect synergy. Now, I know what you're thinking. I can hear the gears turning. Martin, if I save money by lowering my salary, why don't I just pay myself a salary of $1 and take $99,999 as a distribution? I'd save everything. Do not do this. This is the amateur move. This is the move that gets you audited. The IRS is not stupid. They know this game. They require you to pay yourself a reasonable salary. This means you must pay yourself what you would have to pay a stranger to do your job. If you are a flipper generating $100,000 in profit, is it reasonable to say a project manager would do all that work for $1? No. Is it reasonable to say they'd do it for $40,000 or $50,000? Usually yes. My point of view is this: pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered. Don't be a hog. And don't be afraid of this. Switching to an S-Corp isn't dodgy. It's graduating. It's what successful businesses do. The IRS expects you to do this once you reach a certain size. You aren't hiding, you are professionalizing. There are data sources like RC reports that CPAs use to determine exactly what a reasonable salary is for your specific job and zip code. Use them. Even if you pay yourself a healthy $50,000 salary, the savings are massive. If you try to cheat and pay zero, the IRS will reclassify all your distributions as salary and hit you with massive penalties and back taxes. It's not worth the risk. Now, running an S-Corp isn't free. There is friction. You have to run payroll. You need software like Gusto or ADP. That's about $500 to $600 a year. You have to file a separate corporate tax return, a Form 1120S. Your CPA will likely charge you an extra $1,000 to $1,500 for this. So you have about $2,000 in extra administrative costs. This creates a tipping point. If you are just starting out and making $20,000 or $30,000 in net profit, stay an LLC. The tax savings on $30,000 aren't enough to cover the $2,000 in admin costs and the headache of payroll. The math suggests the tipping point is generally between $40,000 and $60,000 in net profit. Once your business consistently nets over $50,000, the tax savings, which are about $4,000 at that level, outweigh the admin costs, $2,000. You're in the green. As you scale to $100,000, $200,000 or more, the savings grow exponentially until you hit the Social Security cap. Crucial caveat, listen closely. This strategy is for active income, flipping, wholesaling, property management fees, real estate commissions. Do not put your passive rental properties in an S-Corp. Rental income is already exempt from self-employment tax. Putting rentals in an S-Corp creates a tax nightmare when you try to sell or refinance them. Keep your rentals in a standard LLC. Put your operations in the S-Corporation. Let's recap. The Big Beautiful Bill saved the QBI deduction, but it didn't kill the self-employment tax. The S-Corp election is your shield. It allows you to split your income, pay a reasonable salary, and distribute the rest free of that 15.3% penalty. Your challenge today, this is a 60-second audit. I want you to pull up your last tax return or your P&L statement. Look at Schedule C, line 31, on net profit. Is that number over $50,000? If it is, and you filed as a standard LLC, you effectively wrote a check for thousands of dollars to the IRS that you didn't have to. Write that number down. That is your lost capital. Now email your CPA with one subject line: S-Corp election analysis for 2026. Stop the bleeding. Next episode, we are expanding the map. We've plugged the tax leak, but what about the liability leak? If you own properties in 3 different states, do you need 3 different LLCs? We're breaking down the fortress strategy of multi-state entity planning and why the Wyoming LLC is the secret weapon of the ultra-wealthy. I'm Martin Maxwell. Keep learning, stay strategic, and keep building one step at a time.